2021 will go down in the annals of mountain sports for two important events. The cancellation of the 23rd Mezzalama trophy due to the pandemic, and the advent of the Mezzalama SkyClimb by Dynafit race, which with its zero edition officially became the summer version of the world-famous Monte Rosa ski mountaineering marathon. A competition that habitués of the world skyrunning scene have been waiting for. A difficult, highly technical race that is not for everyone. 25 kilometers long, with a positive elevation gain over 2,500 meters and a total ascent of more than 5,000 meters. Its highest point is the Castore summit at 4,226 meters above sea level. Impressive figures that would make most of us go weak at the knees, but that do not frighten the 62 teams who have entered this first grueling edition. Athletes from all over the world, all with a solid track record, experienced, well-trained runners, because in a competition of this caliber, there's no room for improvisation. As usual, the race starts early in the morning. At first light, the two-man teams start to assemble at the small village of Saint-Jacques.
Come sempre, ci onorate della vostra presenza, quindi siamo molto felici di aver lavorato per voi.
The tension is palpable. Everyone is totally focused. Each tiny detail is checked. Superstitious rituals, blank stares. But it all vanishes when the speaker starts the countdown.
2, 1, go!
Now, you just have to run. To pace yourself. Use your head. For everyone, the course is an unknown quantity. For many, it's a battle against time. For several, it's a battle with themselves. The first part of the track doesn't present any major technical difficulties. A long line of runners winds its way uphill through some of the most beautiful scenery in the Aosta Valley. By the time they reach the Blue Lake, the leaders have already built up a sizable advantage over those behind them. They are totally focused, their pace fast and sure-footed. There's no time to admire the lovely scenery. Their eyes are fixed firmly on the ground in front of them, so as to pick out the best path. So far, the hospitable terrain has allowed them to fly. It's important to build up as good a lead as possible over their adversaries. The desire to smile and the adrenaline rush of the start is still there, as is all the strength acquired over months of training. There's just a bit of mist hanging around to worry the athletes, but the weather forecast promises an improvement, so the only thing to do is to keep going, onwards and upwards. As the trail climbs, the landscape changes. There are no more trees, and the rocky glacial moraine dictates the pace. It's now a truly high-altitude alpine trail. At this point, the race becomes selective. Running is practically impossible, so the athletes just scramble up the man-made stairs as fast as possible, using their hands to keep their balance. After 9 kilometers and an elevation gain of more than 1,700 meters, the first team to reach the Guide Dayas hut is the Dynafit squad, made up of Jakob Hermann and Pascal Egli, in 1 hour 35 minutes and 24 seconds. All the teams have to pass through this checkpoint within 3 hours from the start. Those that don't make it within the deadline are disqualified. There's time for a quick bite to eat, but before going on, a change of equipment is obligatory. This is the gateway to the glacier. From here on, team members have to be roped together and wear crampons. For some, it's just a formality to be dealt with as quickly as possible, while others see it as a moment in which to recover their energy before facing the Castore Peak. In order to conquer the coveted summit, you first have to reach the Verra Pass, an expanse of ancient ice, eroded over time, like the face of an old person who has a wealth of stories to recount. The route is well marked and monitored by the guides, the runner's guardian angels. But one must always be alert to the possibility of crevices hidden under treacherously thin, snowy bridges that at this time of the year are particularly unstable. There's a wider field of view now, so it's possible to keep an eye on the other teams and adjust one's strategy if necessary. There are still 400 meters of positive elevation gain to go before the summit, but they're also the toughest and the athlete's strength is waning. Now, more than ever, it's essential to have good head-leg coordination. The climb is getting steeper and steeper. The only difference with the winter event is the temperature, which at this time of the year is a little milder. The rest is pretty much the same. The steps carved out of the ice, and that thin ridge of snow to be crossed as quickly as possible. There are sheer drops to the right and left. We're at an altitude of 4,226 meters on the Castore Peak. Now, more than ever, total concentration is required. While some find it a perilous balancing act, others cross the peak's narrow ridge without the slightest fear, as if they were in their comfort zone. The air is more rarefied here. It's difficult to breathe. Muscles have been strained to the limit, and a cold easterly wind has made the temperatures plummet. An extreme environment, but the joy of reaching the summit makes it all worthwhile. The view is breathtaking. It's almost like being in another dimension. For those who've succeeded in getting here, there is almost a sense of having reached their goal. From now on, there's only the long descent to the finish line. The race from Castore to Quintino Sella is run at breakneck speed. Legs seem to move on their own volition, almost without control. You let yourself go, let yourself be carried away. Now with a light heart, this is a part of the route to be covered in the shortest time possible. The Quintino Sella hut has always been a favorite destination for hikers wanting to try their hand at the mountaineering routes of Monte Rosa. Apart from the path leading up to the Castore, the hut is the starting point for routes to the eastern and western Liscan, crossing the Felic and Lis glaciers, and it's also a checkpoint for the runners. Here, the first to arrive once again are Jakob Hermann and Pascal Egli, with Daniele Felicetti and Filippo Beccari of the Dinafit La Sportiva team hot on their heels. According to the regulations, from now on, the runners can continue without ropes and race independently, even though the final time will be taken after the arrival of both team members. As the altitude drops, and with the glacier left behind them, victory seems near at hand for the leading runners. A safety rope accompanies the first downhill stretch after the shelter. Care must be taken. One false step could nullify all the efforts made so far. A path carved out of the rock leads down to Saint-Jacques. Leaping from boulder to boulder, the runners seem to dance down it. As the finish line gets nearer, fatigue seems to disappear. There's a desire to complete an epic feat. The awareness of having taken part in an event destined to become one of the top international sky races. A tough, technical race, triggering emotions that will remain in the head, legs, and heart for a long time. At the finish line, everything is ready for the final act. The long wait of friends, families, and spectators is nearly over. The runners are now at the entrance to the village, and all eyes are on the imaginary line, marking the end of the race. The first to arrive in the arena are, once again, Jakob Hermann and Pascal Egli from the Dinafit squad team, with a fantastic time of 3 hours, 55 minutes and 56 seconds.
Mezzalama is the best race in the winter, and also I think in the summer I love it to stay here and to race here. Thank you to the organization.
Penso che non c'è una gara più bella, più alpina.
Yeah.
Followed just over a minute later by Daniele Felicetti and Filippo Beccari from the Dinafit La Sportiva team.
Sì, sono molto contento, veramente una bella gara.
And completing the podium, the home team, Nortec, made up of Dennis Bruno and Alex Dejana, with a gap of 18 minutes and 49 seconds. All are received with an ovation. Now it's time to celebrate. Time to hug each other. Their fatigue forgotten, the athletes' eyes are full of joy at having completed the first edition of the Mezzalama SkyClimb. 16th overall, the first women's team to cross the line is that of Mara Martini and Ilaria Veronese.
Qua è sempre uno spettacolo gareggiare.
Sia per i magnifici paesaggi, il percorso veramente bellissimo, l'organizzazione del Mezzalama è sempre top, tutte le guide alpine, tutti i volontari sul percorso, quindi direi un'edizione zero super approvata.
This was the race everyone had been waiting for. A project pursued with determination and brought to a successful conclusion, thanks also to the numerous volunteers involved.